All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the Red River Wars and other related events. We're just continuing on with the Indian Wars, which were basically just a series of battles and wars between the U.S. government and the different Indian tribes. The Indians were not united against the government. So, Comanche refused to live in the Texas Panhandle where their reservation was, where the government gave them their land there. And that's what kicks off the Red River Wars, which is northern Texas, okay? General Phil Sheridan, okay? This is him right here, orders total warfare to end the fighting. Now, Phil Sheridan was a general from the Civil War, okay? He was one of the northern generals, and this is a tactic that he used to fight the South in the Civil War. Total war means you're not only going after the enemy, but you're going after the enemy's ability to make war. So when Phil Sheridan marched through the South, he went through the entire South, and what he did was he burned all the crops everywhere the army went. He destroyed all the railroads. He killed all the animals. He burned down houses. He literally laid waste to the entire area to make it where the South could not continue to fight. He does the same thing with the Indians. He killed every Indian he saw, basically. He burned their food. He killed every buffalo he saw, all those things, okay? Now, the next thing, this is the big topic of this video. It's the biggest battle in the Indian Wars history. It's called the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Now, to understand the battle, we gotta talk about the players a little bit. This guy right here is General George Armstrong Custer, okay? They called him Pretty Boy Custer. Ladies, what do y'all think? Anyway, so he's the youngest general ever in American history. In the Civil War, he was made a general at the age of 24, and he thought he was some hot stuff, okay? He was a national hero. The reason why they call him Pretty Boy Custer is because he would often be seen riding his horse in front of his men, in front of the 7th Cavalry, which was his unit, and he would brush his hair, his long, beautiful, blonde, curly hair, and the cavalrymen, his people that were under him, were actually making fun of him by calling him Pretty Boy Custer. What they were trying to say was that he was gay, okay? But anyway, so this guy had only one move in the Civil War. He had one strategy, okay? His strategy was, okay, there's the enemy. We're gonna take our forces, divide them. You go around this way, I go around this way, and we crush them in the middle. Now, I'm sure you can understand that if you have the same strategy for every single battle you're ever in, you're going to lose a battle eventually, okay? Imagine if Coach Arsenault would basically run the same play on every single football play, you know, every single down. The other team would probably catch on, right? And then the Bears would lose all the time. So Pretty Boy Custer was giving the orders to go out and search for Indians and kill them, okay? And he has another order as well. He's going through the northern part of the Great Plains around the Dakotas, and his orders are to look for Indians, for one, two, look for gold, okay? And when he's going through around Mount Rushmore, okay, the Black Hills of South Dakota, he finds a massive deposit of gold in a valley, and he telegraphed Congress back a message. And his message was, if you remember from the vocabulary, there's gold in them there hills, okay? So within a year, 10,000 people moved to Deadwood, and it's a big booming town. Well, he's out there on the Great Plains, out in Montana and Wyoming and South Dakota, and he runs across some Indians, okay? Now, if you look right here, the Battle of the Little Bighorn, this is a stock photo, okay? A reenactment. You can tell it's fake because the background's painted and everything. But this is Crazy Horse killing General Custer, okay? So if we look right here, we have a historic painting. Now, we're gonna run across lots of historic paintings over the course of the year. They have rules to them, okay? Typically speaking, where's the hero are the main villain going to be in the painting? Well, they're the center of the picture. So this right here is Crazy Horse, high up on his horse, okay, looking heroic. And you look right here, this is Custer. He's got his head pointed down in defeat, okay? So we have a lot of things going on here. Anyway, historic paintings are not typically accurate, okay? So this is Custer's last stand. All right, the Battle of the Little Bighorn took place in 1876 in Montana, okay? The gold in the Black Hills attracted settlers. Colonel George Armstrong Custer, okay, underestimates Crazy Horse and splits his troops, surprise, surprise, that's what he's always doing. And he ends up getting killed along with all of his men by 3,000 Indians, okay? So if you look at Google Earth, this is where I got this map from, okay? This is kind of the battlefield and the battle plans for the Battle of the Little Bighorn. So what ends up happening is there's a river out there. It's called the Bighorn River. Well, one of the tributaries, or one of the smaller rivers that feed the Bighorn River, they named it the Little Bighorn River. So that's why that name seems kind of weird. So this is the Bighorn River, Little Bighorn River right here. George Armstrong Custer, with his 200 men, come up on this side, and there's kind of a hill here before it goes down into a deep ravine. Okay, it's kind of like this, and then there's a river at the bottom. So George Custer comes up here. He's got a hill right in front of him. Now, what he can see to the left, well, to his right, you see Crazy Horse's camp. He sees a few hundred Indians over there, and he sees to the left here, his left, Sitting Bull's camp. Okay, so he sees two relatively small groups of Indians. So he looks at his first in command, okay, his first officer, and says, "Hey, I know what to do." And you probably already know what he's gonna do. He said, "Let's split up, take half the men here, half the men there." So now, instead of a force of 200 men, you got two sets of 100 men on horseback. That's the cavalry. So they split up and they go this way and this way, but what they don't see, because of this hill over here, is that there are thousands of other Native Americans right here, and their view is blocked by this hill. So by the time Custer gets up and out of the deep ravine, and his first officer gets out of, his first officer's name was Reno, gets out of this deep ravine, they see 3,000 heavily armed Sioux warriors. And it is a horrible event for them, okay? They run back. Custer makes his last stand here. Pretty much every single one of Custer's men died. The whole battle takes about 20 minutes, okay? There's a movie about it. If you want to look up the Battle of the Little Bighorn movie, go ahead and watch that. The movie lasts about 2 hours, which is a lot longer than the actual battle lasts. So, all right. So, America is really angry about the loss of the Battle of the Little Bighorn, okay? So angry that they demand that the Indian Wars get shut down, and now, right now. They want to make the Indians pay, okay? This is the single biggest battle. It did the most to end the Indian Wars, because after this, any behavior towards the Indians could be justified by Americans because of how horribly they got massacred at the Little Bighorn. They lost one of their favorite generals, along with 200 American men. So, another hero of the Indians is this guy right here. His name is Geronimo, okay? Now, Geronimo, he's not up in the Great Plains. Geronimo's in the Southwest. We're looking at, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, that kind of area. And he is the last major Native American guerrilla fighter to be captured, okay? And actually, he wasn't captured, he actually surrendered.
Ms. Ducey, please come to the office. Ms. Ducey.
So, Geronimo actually got chased around the Southwest for about 30 years before he got captured, or before he gave up. He was seen as a spiritual person, a supernatural person, if you will. The Indians viewed him like we view George Washington, okay? Except there was much more mysticism about it. There was much more legend about it, okay? One account by U.S. Cavalry said that they chased Geronimo into a box canyon. Now, a box canyon is basically there's a river at the bottom and there's walls on each side, and at the end there's a wall that goes around and there's a waterfall in the back. There's one way in the canyon, one way out. So the U.S. Cavalry is hot on his trail, and whenever Geronimo gets to the end, he and his men ride right through the waterfall, and the U.S. Cavalry stops. Okay? There's supposed to be a cliff there. So the commanding officer says there must be a cave behind that waterfall. So they sit there for about 2 hours, and they wait, and they wait. And they don't hear any noise coming from behind the waterfall. It's as if these men have disappeared. So the officer in command gives the order, let's go in. Let's go ahead and have this fight. It's getting dark. Let's make sure that they don't get to sneak away in the dark. So the U.S. Cavalry goes in behind the waterfall, and they find a small room about the size of my classroom. And there's nobody there, and there's no exit. There's literally no way to get out. All the U.S. Cavalry's eyes were on Geronimo when he went into that waterfall, into that room. And he managed to escape while they were watching him, watching the waterfall, with no way out. So the U.S. Cavalry claimed that Geronimo used his spiritual powers to teleport all of his men somewhere else. Now, I have no idea how he did that, how he got out of there. I don't believe in teleportation, but what do I know? Okay. Anyway, so that's one of Geronimo's stories. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk next video about the buffalo slaughter.